Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Rites, a holistic healing and embodiment workbook for Black survivors of sexual trauma. By Shena J. Young, Psyd. Forward by Aisha Shahida Simmons. Narrated by Machelle Williams. Publisher's Note: in this audio edition, you will hear references to illustrations present in the print and ebook formats of the book. Note to listeners: this book is intended as a general informational resource. The approaches and techniques described in this book are meant to supplement, and not to be a substitute for, professional care or treatment. And listeners should consult with a qualified professional before embarking on any new physical, dietary, or breathwork regimen. No technique or recommendation is guaranteed to be safe or effective in all circumstances, and neither the publisher nor the author can guarantee the efficacy or appropriateness of any particular recommendation in every respect. Any URLs given in this book link or refer to websites that existed as of press time. The publisher is not responsible for and should not be deemed to endorse or recommend any website, app, or other content that it did not create. The author is also not responsible for any third-party material. I believe you. You know who you are. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. I am here with you, on all sides of you, and on your healing journey for however long it takes. This is our cauldron. Let your touch and breath be the fire underneath the spirit waters boiling inside, the smoke carrying your healing stories beyond. This is for survivors of sexual assault in all forms, silently screaming in Black bodies, living beside themselves, toning their porousness, fervently returning to themselves, discovering joy, alchemizing generations of pain in their DNA, making healing choices that reach forward and backward. This is for those who insist on knowing their bodies as home. I love you, truly. Prayer. May every moment in healing happen underneath the gaze and in the embrace of your ancestors. May they be venerated by your choices to do what they couldn't. May your collective body be soft and fierce, inevitably. Forward. Breathe in from your root chakra. Welcome, dear one. You have entered a Black woman, femme, and non-binary survivor-centered sanctuary, envisioned and created by my sister, survivor, friend, Dr. Shena J. Young, a Black woman, licensed body-centered psychologist, healer, artist, and Larissa. Our origin story, the abbreviated version. In the fall of 2020, during a session with Dara Ellaby Williams, my trauma-informed psychotherapist, one of my Dharma teachers, and beloved big sister friend, asked me if I would be interested in exploring the possibility of writing the foreword to a groundbreaking workbook for Black survivors written by a Black woman psychologist. Almost without hesitation, I enthusiastically said, yes. Dara has decades of expertise working at the intersections of healing intergenerational trauma, spiritual practice, and social justice. Her guiding support has been invaluable on my journey. I knew I wanted to be involved if Dara extended an opportunity for me to be included in a project whose vision and goal is to support Black survivors. Several weeks later, Dara connected me with Shena. While we've been in each other's orbits, our paths never intersected until Dara brought us together. Have you ever met someone for the first time, yet felt like you knew them for a long time? That was the feeling I experienced during my first Zoom conversation with Shena. For a couple of hours, our conversation flowed like warm maple syrup over gluten-free blueberry banana waffles. We traversed so much ground, including our survivor experiences, our sacred practices and rituals that we utilize to heal the physical, emotional, spiritual, and psychic places we've traveled on our healing journeys, our favorite foods and music, and our commitment to creating work that's in service to the wellness and healing of diasporic Black survivors. When Shena talked about her literary baby Body Rites, a holistic healing and embodiment workbook for Black survivors of sexual trauma, I was in awe of her vision and process. I must share that her spoken words about her book were so profound that I had a bodily response to just hearing about it, without reading one word. I experienced butterflies in my stomach and warm sensations throughout my body. I wanted to enter the Body Rites sanctuary. I was and will forever be honored that her invitation to write the foreword allowed me to be with the workbook for months before it was released to the world. This is a sacred gift and auspicious responsibility. By the end of our conversation, I was sure our ancestors ordained our connection, and they chose our beloved big sister friend guide, Dara, to serve as the liaison. Ashe. My past is prologue. 29 years ago, in 1994, I embarked on a 12-year journey to write, direct, and produce the groundbreaking film No, the Rape documentary, about intraracial sexual violence, healing, and accountability in Black communities. At that time, I named that I was a survivor of childhood and young adult rape, but I didn't go into many details. I said, I'm an incest and rape survivor. I was in therapy with Dr. Clara Whaley Perkins, a Black woman and licensed clinical psychologist. Those sessions were not only a lifeline, but supported me from 1992 to 2020. In the mid-1990s, I vividly remember having intense research and development conversations with Dr. Tamara L. Xavier, my beloved sister friend, who is a co-producer and the director of the choreography of No, the Rape documentary. She pushed me to include dance in the film. Initially, it was an uphill battle for her. Tamara was among the first to teach me that the body has memory. We can't just talk our way out of trauma. We have to move the trauma through and out of our bodies. I am grateful for Tamara's insistence and persistence, which led to the inclusion of dance in No, the Rape documentary. Transparency. Even with my herstory I just shared about learning that we must move the trauma through and out of our bodies, I still wanted to engage with Body Rites, a holistic healing and embodiment workbook for Black survivors of sexual trauma, from a purely theoretical, heady stance. I wanted to barrel through it so I could write the foreword. I didn't want to be in my body. I tried to hide in my head. Yet, I know the body keeps the score. When I opened both my mind and my body to Dr. Shena's Body Rites, I viewed the illustrations for several weeks. I wept. I wept because I was grateful for this offering. I wept because I wholeheartedly wished it existed 30 years ago, when I was in the early stages of the sexual trauma healing journey during my mid-20s. Dr. Shena's guiding words, rituals, incantations, journal prompts, and prayers called me to move from my head down to my neck, shoulders, arms, wrists, hands, fingers, chest, heart, breasts, stomach, intestines, uterus, ovaries, vagina, buttocks, thighs, knees, legs, ankles, feet, and toes. I'm a Buddhist whose 2 decades of experience practicing Vipassana meditation on long-term residential retreats and daily sitting meditation practices is a grounding anchor. Dr. Shena's invitational call in Body Rites deepened these practices that support my healing. The workbook provided a salve for some survivor wounds that decades upon decades later are still festering beneath the surface. Her language made me feel like I had extended private sessions with her and my most intimate self. I felt seen, cared for, nurtured, and supported by Dr. Shena, but most importantly, by myself. My buckets of tears were a healing release of so much that was stored in my body from being molested as a little girl and raped as a college-aged woman. My engagement with body rights was a cleansing. Trauma is multi-layered and intergenerational. Body Rights is a workbook that I will return to again and probably again. It's not a one-and-done experience for me. It's one of those companions that is a new, essential part of my healing toolbox. The Unbroken Circle. Body Rights join a small literary chorus of pioneering Black survivor-authored and centered nonfiction books that, unlike Body Rights, are not workbooks, but serve as guides for Black survivors on our healing journeys. These include, but are not limited to, Dr. Charlotte Pierce Baker's Surviving the Silence, Black Women's Stories of Rape, Lori S. Robinson's I Will Survive, The African American Guide to Healing from Sexual Assault and Abuse, and No Secrets, No Lies, How Black Families Can Heal from Sexual Abuse. The time is now. Continuing and expanding upon the work that precedes her own, Dr. Shena manifested Body Rights, a groundbreaking, beautiful, interactive workbook that places Black women, femmes, and non-binary survivors in our diversity at the center. We're not marginalized as a sidebar, a small section we must peruse through the index to find, or an afterthought. We are Dr. Shena's unwavering, razor-sharp focus. Body Rights is a sacred gift whose trauma-informed healing focus is African ancestral, spiritual, somatic, emotional, and mental. Dr. Shena invites us to choose to heal and be engaged participants in our healing. Her invitational call reminds us that healing from sexual trauma is not a spectatorial nor solely a theoretical process. Healing is fully embodied, and Dr. Shena provides the resources to support our journeys. For many Black survivors, an integral part of our embodiment is for the intersection of our racial, gender, and sexual identities to be witnessed and affirmed. We do not have to choose which identity to focus on when journeying through and with Body Rights. We are whole precisely because of our multiple identities embodied into one. Dr. Sheena's words are our compassionate and supportive witness, and Shaima El Said's illustrations, which can be found in the print and e-book versions of this book, reflect our beauty and power through different sizes, complexions, and physical abilities. This is the Black survivor magic that Dr. Shena conjured. This workbook is not meant to be finished in one sitting. Of course, you can do that if you desire. It's all about choices, after all. However, Body Rights is an experience where you have to do the work to move with and through the trauma. Dr. Shena provides a solid foundation that includes a wealth of information about trauma and how our bodies react, including shutting down in response. Equally important, she also encourages us to listen to the wisdom of our bodies and spirits. Dr. Shena offers self-guided contemplative assignments, journal prompts, yoga, and other movement practices, recipes for teas and tinctures, and sacred rituals geared to dislodge the often intergenerational trauma stored in our bodies and psyches to support deep, cellular healing, which is multi-layered and often requires a slow, deliberate, and intentional journey. This is intuitional work. It is your roadmap to your healing path. The Continuum. In the opening of her award-winning 1980 novel, The Salt Eaters, the late Black feminist writer, one of my teachers and elder sister friend, Toni Cade Bambara, asked a timeless prophetic question. Are you sure, sweetheart, you want to be well? Just so's you're sure, sweetheart, and ready to be healed, 'cause wholeness is no trifling matter. A lot of weight when you're well. Over 40 years later, Dr. Shena Young's Body Rights is a contemporary literary affirmation of Bambara's words. Like Bambara, Shena reminds us that being well is a lot of work, a huge responsibility, and a profound gift. She calls on us to remember that which is ancestral and provides roadmaps and other accompanying tools to support the healing pathway after trauma. I remember how Toni Cade Bambara frequently told students and friends, "It's the community you want to name you and claim you as sister, daughter, mother, auntie, friend." She always reminded us that we didn't want to be beholden to the corporate entities focused on our annihilation. Instead, we want to create cultural work that speaks directly to our Black communities, usually resulting in a shift from the Eurocentric gaze. Despite not meeting Toni Cade Bambara in person, Shena answers Toni's now ancestral call for accountability to Black communities. I unequivocally believe body rights is part of the tradition Toni spoke of continuously. Shena boldly, compassionately, and unapologetically speaks directly to Black women, femmes, and non-binary survivors. All are welcome, and we are the center. Sankofa. Sankofa is the mythical bird of the Akan people in Ghana. Its head turned backward, facing the past, its feet turned forward to face the future, and its body centered in the present moment. Body rights is past, present, and future. It emphasizes the here and now while connecting listeners to their past and supporting them in envisioning their future. For me, this is the powerful African, indigenous, and ancestral wisdom that informs the continuum of which body rights is a part. I rejoice, Dr. Shena. I bow deep in honor of your work that will transform countless lives. Exhale. Aisha Shahida Simmons, survivor, healer, trauma-informed mindfulness meditation teacher, producer, writer, and director of No, the Rape documentary, and editor of Love with Accountability, digging up the root of child sexual abuse. Intro and welcome. Dear beloved, can I call you that? I mean it as an offering of deep endearment. Be loved. It is also an invitation, a beckoning to return to what is true. I am elated that you are here, that you were led here, that you are opening to healing here. It is my honor to be your guide. My name is Dr. Shena Young. My beloveds call me Dr. Shena. I am a body-centered and holistic psychologist, healer, trauma-informed educator, consultant, yoga teacher, and survivor of many things. I created this healing space, Body Rights, for you, for yours, for all of us. I wish I could tell you when this all began, when I first started collecting and intuiting the healing wisdom and tools that will follow. I value knowing the inception of power, of knowing how a story began. But I am learning that time does not like to be contained or understood. It prefers to beat wildly, to pass freely. I am learning that healing and time are conjoined, that they hold on to their truths while moving together. Healing is in process, verb. It is a process, noun. It is something to own. It is infinite, above and beyond. It is mine and yours and ours. It is time. I hope you remember these truths as you move in and out and through the healing in this book. I hope that when you forget, these sections will help you remember how to be. Welcome, beloved, to a journey of healing in time. In mind, body, heart, and spirit. Body Rights is a holistic healing journey. I want to explain what that means as a foundation for your experience and also as a potential way of healing in life. Oftentimes, when we think about mental and emotional health, we center fitness of the mind. That is important, and also it inherently comes with limitations. Focusing on the mind as a singular means of healing is rooted in the beginnings of the field of psychology in the Western world, created by white men within systems that serve white people and oppress all others. The tools that were innovated in the psychology field's beginnings and beyond were used to establish superiority by way of biased and defective science and proof that others, namely folks of African ancestry, were inferior. Consequently, this has influenced how we understand and relate to our mental health as individuals and in community as Black beings. We have adopted westernized beliefs and value systems that have shaped our lives, and our healing is no exception. I use the word adopted loosely. What feels more true is that Black beings have been conditioned under the institution of colonization. Our minds, bodies, and our healing have been manipulated through enslavement and its contemporary descendants and manifestations. This is an intrusive, abrasive, and abusive process that continues to impact how we move in the world, how we understand it, how we relate to ourselves and others, how we shrink or stand in our power, how we are disjointed from our personal truth, and how we externalize our trust in determining what is best for us on our healing journeys. And for multi-generations, we have practiced forgetting as a means of survival. When you listen to the final words, I pray your arms are joyously tired from holding all that you remembered and discovered. While many of us can recognize the overt ways in which historical oppression colors our present experiences, some of us may have a harder time sensing into the insidious nature of colonization and the harm it causes. The enslavement of African people and colonization forbade our people's use of their indigenous medicines, access to sacred plants and herbs, music, language, movement, foods, and spiritual tools. We were people deeply connected to the elements, earth, water, air, and fire. We held our elders close and our ancestors in sacred embrace. We experienced elevation and healing as a collective, in community. Body Rites as a holistic healing journey anchors into the practice of decolonizing our medicine and reclaiming our body sovereignty. It reaches back into our indigenous roots and land-based healing. It centers remembering as a means of survival. We are not just minds or brains. We are not simple, compartmentalized beings. We are complex, whole, dynamic beings, and all of our aspects and parts are interconnected. Thus, attending to our healing is not merely a mental exercise. When we are grounded in these truths, remembering and decolonizing our medicine, our healing can take on a different path. In this context, the practice of decolonizing is to untangle and unbraid ourselves and ways of being from oppressive conditioning. It is to reach back into the wells of wisdom and traditions that we once knew, those that were lost in surviving global colonization, so that healing is shaped from the inside rather than controlled from the outside. Ultimately, it is hoped that this unbraiding process will incite memory of body sovereignty, the knowing that your body is yours. Some notes on decolonizing healing. Unlearning is a long haul, but I have one tip to root the decolonization of your healing practices. Question everything. Many of us are already doing this work. Some of us may be afraid to ask questions because we fear the answers will challenge everything we have come to believe or have been taught. It might. There is no shame in that. The practice of fear is oppression working. Fear is oppression spreading out inside. It is the embodiment of colonization. So here's a list of questions to keep close in the spirit of remembrance and accountability. I invite you to ask yourself, are the values I practice also tools that have been used to oppress me and my communities? Where did it come from, that belief, value, energy, judgment? Where did I learn this? Where did the fear come from? Is it mine or was it left with me? If it was left with me, was it to protect me or to protect them, the others, the oppressors? Why am I afraid of remembering what has been forgotten? Do my values and practices dilute my authenticity and truth? Okay, so how do we put this all into practice in healing from sexual trauma? I see you asking questions. I invite you to consider shifting your healing orientation into a paradigm that inspires your remembrance, one that assists you in the whole beautifully complex being that you are. Even as you are listening to this, I invite you to notice how it feels to be affirmed in your wholeness in this exact moment. Body Rites is grounded in a mind, body, heart, spirit orientation that I discovered in my own healing journey and in holding sacred therapeutic space for others. I have witnessed its power and reach and am honored to share it with you. At the base of this paradigm of healing is an understanding of trauma. Trauma affects the whole being. More on this in the next chapter. And thus, healing can be profound when it holds the whole being as well: mind, body, heart, spirit. The mind aspect is concerned with our beliefs, truths and untruths, how we think about ourselves and the world. The body, perhaps one of the most neglected aspects in the mental health field, is about how our lived experiences manifest physically, physiologically, and energetically. The heart part regards our relationships and love for self and others. Lastly, the spirit facet is about our relationships with a God or higher power or self, sense of purpose, intuition, and our ancestors. In flow, a word on how. Body Rites is the first of its kind, an embodied healing journey and holistic resource/workbook of rituals for Black women, femmes, and non-binary survivors of sexual assault. This workbook is a gentle guide and liaison, exploring the impact of sexual trauma on the mind, body, heart, and spirit. It is an invitation to heal holistically, drawing upon indigenous medicine, psychophysiology, lived body wisdom, trauma-informed embodiment practices, and kinship/ancestral connections. Most urgently, it is a series of intimate conversations with yourself and remembrance that healing lives at the core of your intuition. Additionally, because it is time that we reclaim our voice in shaping healing spaces, I have also written a brief epilogue for helping professionals that journey with and hold space for our communities. All this in mind, there is no wrong way to do this. I suppose that if there is a right way, it would be something only you could determine. I know that beginning a new healing venture can be overwhelming, though, so I would like to offer some suggestions for using the workbook. Please know that you are supported in discerning your method and your path through. Disclaimers and invitations. I believe that we have much of what we need inside to heal. I believe that because many of us have forgotten, in order to survive, that we might have to reach back or more deeply to retrieve the wisdom that exists within us and just beyond us. To this end, I anticipate that in this book, you will remember things you have forgotten, things that you did not realize you knew, and things that you need for this exact time. And if your heart is open to it, I think you might discover some new things, too. This workbook has been written with the utmost thoughtfulness and intentionality. It has been designed to be experienced in the order it is presented, but I know healing ain't linear. The earlier sections are written to support your settling in, gathering tools for what's to come, and to ground in context. The middle sections guide you through the work and embodied healing practices, collecting and deepening rituals along the way. At last, we close in the clutch of our ancestors and liberatory self-reflection. However, if you find yourself drawn to explore sections spontaneously, please do it with all your...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?